Hello learners, we've been discussing about Methanex versus United States of America. So in the first video we looked at the factual circumstance of the case, then in the next video we looked at the claims of Methanex, then we've been looking at the procedural aspects of this case, and that is very significant in the context of Methanex because Methanex made history with regard to two things. It was during the pendency of a Methanex case, Methanex had requested for the negotiating history of NAFTA, and then we could see that it was released. The tribunal refused to order the United States to give the negotiating history, but we could see the FTC had released the negotiating history during the pendency of this case. So that again, procedurally, Methanex had gained significance because it was because of this case, the negotiating history of NAFTA itself had come to the public. And the second point why this case is significant that we'd already discussed was with regard to the acceptance of amicus curiae submission in the context of investment dispute. It was this case that was the first case where this had happened. So those procedural aspects are something that we discussed in the previous video. So in this video we will again talk about some other procedural issues, especially with regard to admissibility of evidence in the investment arbitration and also with regard to scientific evidence. There were questions with regard to scientific evidence. So those two aspects we can discuss in this video. Methanex entire claim sort of revolved around the meeting that Methanex categorized as a secret meeting between Governor Davis before the election before he became the governor and when Governor Davis met with the ADM officials. So Methanex also stated there was one more person who attended this secret meeting, and that person was Mr. Vint, and his company was called Regent International. So Methanex wanted to sort of give a lot of emphasis on this particular secret meeting, and even in the previous video we saw that it sort of wanted the documents and especially those documents related to Mr. Wind only, where it wanted to make an application before the court in order to compel the testimony and all of that. But later on, as we'd seen in the previous video, it withdrew the case from the US court, and then it decided to proceed with the arbitration with the evidence at hand. So here what had happened was it adduced certain evidences relating to Mr. Wind, and the US questioned the legality of these documents. So the US stated that before the tribunal hears the content of these documents, it wanted the tribunal first to rule on the legality of the evidences submitted by Methanex. Then the Methanex stated that it obtained certain documents relating to Mr. Wind through private detectives, and these private detectives were hired by a law firm which was based in DC. But Methanex refused to reveal the name of this law firm. So therefore, we can see the tribunal making reference to unnamed DC law firm in the award. So the unnamed DC law firm are the one who hired these private detectives, and these private detectives retrieved certain documents relating to Mr. Win, and that is what Methanex wanted to use in this arbitration so that the tribunal can draw inference with regard to the nature of the meeting, the secret meeting as alleged by Methanex. And that is how it submitted these documents. So then, since US had questioned the legality, Methanex had to produce the detectives who had collected these evidence, and then they had to give their testimony before the tribunal. And the tribunal noted that there was some discrepancy with regard to the testimonies of the private detectives. So even Methanex even had to withdraw the testimony of one of the detectives, but the testimonies of the other detectives was there. For instance, there was one detective who stated that he would collect the discarded documents from the public property and then send it to the law firm. So that is how he described the process, and then the tribunal heard the testimonies of different detectives as well as the paralegal who was associated with the unnamed DC law firm. Then the tribunal sort of concluded how these documents were collected. So what are the documents? The documents actually related to some of the personal correspondence of Mr. Wind, and even a printout of Mr. Wind's electronic diary was also there. So all of these documents, Mr. Wind stated that it was not something that he discarded. So the earlier detective, he gave a testimony saying that he collected these documents that were discarded in public property, but Mr. Wynn stated that he never discarded these personal correspondence. And then Mr. Wind stated that there was a break-in in his office around 1999 and 2000, and that was something that he had even reported to the police. So that gave sort of that questioned how the private detectives have collected it. So the tribunal had wanted testimony from the detectives with regard to how the documents were collected. So finally, after hearing the detectives, the paralegal, the tribunal sort of came to a conclusion with regard to how these documents were collected, and the place where Mr. Wynn's office was located, his company Regent International was located in a building, and that building had 5 other tenants. One of those 5 tenants was a gym. So the private detective took membership in the gym, and then he accessed the dumpster. He would go through every trash bag until he reached the trash bag which contained Mr. Wynn's office documents. Then he would take those trash bags to his car between 6 to 7 a.m. in the morning. So in his testimony, he stated that sometimes the door that has access to the trash area would be open ajar. So when he says sometimes it would be open ajar, that doesn't mean that all the times it would be open ajar. Right. So then in that case, the paralegal even gave a testimony that the paralegal asked the partners of the law firm with regard to whether collection of evidence in such a manner is something legal or not, and to which the paralegal stated that the partners informed that or partners showed a part of California code which stated that evidence can be collected from discarded documents. So that was there. Then USA cited Bria Municipal Code, which stated that with regard to solid waste collection and then certain sewage thing, there was a the municipal code contained a provision saying that removal of trash is illegal unless and until that person has a owner's consent, and this provision is will not be applicable on trash collector. That's how the provision stated. Then Methanex stated the objective of that provision is to protect public health, and therefore it does not extend to other areas. So now we can clearly see Methanex wants these evidence to be admitted, and US was questioning the legality of these documents. At that particular point of time, the tribunal invoked Article 15 of the Unsettled Arbitration Rules, which gives a broad discretion to the arbitral tribunal to decide how the arbitration proceedings should be conducted, so that the parties are treated equally and with equality, and that at every stage of the proceeding, the parties are given sufficient opportunity to present their case. So this is what Article 15 talks about. So basically, by invoking Article 15 of Unsettled Arbitration Rules, the tribunal decided that it will not admit the documents relating to Mr. Wind in this particular arbitration, and the tribunal stated that when the door was not ajar, so basically Methanex did not make an effort to distinguish between the documents that were collected when the door was open ajar and the collection of documents when the door was closed. So that distinction was not made by Methanex, and that sometimes Methanex this even amounts to Methanex committing a trespass also. And then the tribunal also stated that the documents that Methanex wants to admit is something that is remotely relevant to the secret meeting alleged by Methanex. So Methanex calls it secret meeting, but United States contended to be private meeting, right? So whatever the content of the document that Methanex wants to introduce in the arbitration that are only remotely relevant to the meeting that had happened. So therefore, the tribunal decided that by invoking Article 15, it will not admit these documents as evidence in this arbitration. So that was decided with regard to the admissibility of evidence. Then the next procedural thing that the tribunal had to decide was there was some sort of a contest between the US and Methanex with regard to scientific evidence. US was disputing Methanex scientific evidence, Methanex was disputing US scientific evidence. So the tribunal essentially had to look into this question with regard to the scientific evidence. Methanex's primary contention was that the UC study was underfunded and that its report was not comprehensive and it suffered from data limitations. So it questioned the findings of UC report. And Methanex said that there is some rational scientific basis to the UC report. So the contest was between whether UC report can be relied on, whether UC report cannot be relied on. Then the tribunal stated that the essential question is it has to decide whether the UC report was genuinely based on scientific research or was it something a political sham done by California. That is the question according to the tribunal was a key one that it had to answer. Then the tribunal stated that in case of any scientific query, number of scientists may disagree with each other and just because they are disagreeing, there is one scientist who disagrees with the opinion or with the findings of another scientist, it does not mean per se that should be discarded. The only thing is scientists could disagree with each other on many number of things in good faith also regarding methodology, regarding analysis, regarding data sets. So they could have disagreement, but the tribunal's question is whether this was the UC's report was based on scientific evidence or was it a political sham. To answer that question, the tribunal looked at the fact that the UC report was publicly discussed, publicly debated. So when it was publicly discussed and publicly debated among peers, so it has some sort of, it emerges as a robust scientific work rather than being a political sham done by California. So in that regard, the tribunal held that the UC's report is something that is scientifically valid and scientifically rational. So with that, it settled that question. After looking at all these procedural things, the tribunal now had to look into the question of the primary question on which the tribunal actually found jurisdiction over this particular matter, that was whether there was intent to discriminate the methanol producer. So that is a question the tribunal answered and we will discuss about how the tribunal answered this particular question in the next video in detail.